We're talking about a player here
Mhm.
from the Indianapolis Colts, but he requested a trade and has been granted permission to talk with teams. And the reason that I think it's important is anytime you have a very good player in this league that could be on the move, you have to start thinking of where they go. And depending on the team that he ends up with, it definitely can impact the 49ers and their chances of winning a Super Bowl. I think there's two teams in the NFC that actually might get involved in this that could make things interesting. One is the Philadelphia Eagles. They've got,
Yeah.
what do they have? I wrote it
They have
down.
DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny.
They've also got 13.3 million in cap space. And the other one is this. The Dallas Cowboys have nearly 19 million in cap space. They no longer have Zeke. Yes, they've got Pollard, but is he really a bell cow? And it just, to me, that has a Dallas Cowboys written all over it for some reason. It's just something that I could see Jerry Jones doing. He'd be willing to give up the first round pick, pay a player like Jonathan Taylor, and the Colts obviously would love for him to go to the NFC. So those are two teams that stand out. Obviously, you've got AFC teams like the Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, what have you. If he ended up on one of those teams, it could be a problem possibly if you reach the Super Bowl. But those two NFC teams stand out to me as being a major problem if he ends up there. They have the money, they have the draft capital. Not saying that he does end up there, but I think it's something we do have to consider. Is there any teams, or have you put any thought into this of what this could look like if he ends up on a contender?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at it, right, because the Eagles were the first team that came to mind to me
Mm,
when Jonathan Taylor was announced as an NFC team, and because, like you said, they have, they've got somewhat of a timeshare at running back, and that's something that they seem very comfortable in doing throughout, regardless of the players. But they had Miles Sanders there last year, and Jonathan Taylor could be that final piece for them to truly win a Super Bowl if they want to go all in. And we've seen Howie Roseman pull off trade after trade that benefits the Eagles like this. Jonathan Taylor could be the next one. Cowboys were also a team because I thought, if they want a two-headed monster, they've got a new offensive coordinator in Brian Schottenheimer. Mike McCarthy has said they want to run the ball more this year. That could be a very logical place. I did see a report from CBS's Josiah Anderson who said that they aren't immediately considering it because they don't think they can afford it. So in terms of trade value, I would assume I'm very intrigued to see if he gets traded, what that contract would also look like, because contracts for running backs haven't been very great recently, really. It's been on a downturn. That's another part. But this is certainly a domino that you have to look out for throughout the league. And those are the two targets that you could really see, potentially at the top of the NFC. Another name that I was thinking of that they might want to operate in a timeshare with the guy that they had last year is the Minnesota Vikings. It's an
mm.
offense similar to the San Francisco 49ers. And with that division being as it is right now, I don't know if there's a true clear contender in the NFC North. You've got the Lions who are rising, but the Vikings won the division last year and could look to operate with the two-back set like they did with Cook and Alexander Madison last year. Now with Taylor in the fold as a long-term option, that could be their younger version of Dalvin Cook. Could be an option there.
Yeah, definitely. And I did see that point by Clarzard. Fable also brings it back up. They do have to pay Parsons over in Dallas, but I mean, if you front load a contract, let's say for a Jonathan Taylor or Parsons, then you certainly could find your way around it. I'm not saying there's a guarantee, but anytime players like this come up, you have to start considering it. Where does he end up? And for me, it's always a concern. When Hopkins was out there, that was a concern. I was relieved when he signed with the Titans because I'm like, all right,
Right.
that's not a direct threat to San Francisco. So same thing now that Jonathan Taylor's available, and unlike some of these other backs that have become available, he's much younger. He's only going to be 24 this season. So you've got, running backs usually start to fall off around 27, but you've got 3 or 4 years before that's even really a consideration. When healthy, he's one of the top backs in the league, and he's been very, very good. You get him in the right offense with the right team, and there's a lot of contenders that I could see maybe throwing their name in the hat. That does worry me a little bit that Jonathan Taylor is now out there to be had, and many teams that he could go to that would really cause problems for the San Francisco 49ers. So pay attention to it. Anytime you got a superstar on the move or a very good player on the move, you always have to pay attention to it. Not from the standpoint that San Francisco is going to get him, but from the standpoint that a rival team that is also competing for a Super Bowl who might be in the way of the 49ers could get them, and that would be a disaster. So definitely pay attention to that. Don't let that one fly under the radar.